Spiral vampirism. What is it and what is it not? Welcome to the Goddess Keys, where we explore art, technomancy, and we blur the lines between fact and fiction to build our world. We're going to talk about spiral vampirism, and I'm going to tell you what it is. It's a concept that I've developed and have utilized in my world building journey. This is something I've just recently given language to and have been sharing in my writings as well as some of my teachings, specifically on the Black Diamond tier of Patreon. But I think it's important to discuss it because a lot of times when we talk about vampires, immediately there's a whole rhetoric right now on energy vampirism. And I've definitely participated in that rhetoric before of demonizing vampirism and seeing it as quote bad and looking at things from a really polarized way. But if you've been watching my content for a bit, engaging with me for a bit, first of all, hi, thank you. Good to see you, welcome back. Or you're here for the first time, also hi, welcome. I have a new perspective on vampirism and ways that it can actually be supportive on your journey, specifically if you feel like you're in a life script that is very unsupportive to your well-being all around. Like if you feel as though you're in situations where you're being energy harvested off of, or you're being taken advantage of, spiral vampirism gets you to kind of move into that villain type of energy and play around with it. Art is life. We blur the lines between fact and fiction. So I'm not saying that this is real, all right? I'm just saying that this is a strategy to utilize if you feel as though you're encountering a lot of like parasitic, vampiric energies, and it's a harm reduction approach to ensure that you are not deterred from world building the life of your desires in that process. Because sometimes we hit weird bumps in the road, we make weird turns that lead us into places that maybe don't feel that good to us, but we might need to be there for whatever reason. And spiral vampirism basically helps you to make the best out of any situation that you're in until you are building the world of your dreams. I'm going to actually read from my book, The Architect is Her. So if you're interested in this concept of spiral vampirism, then buy the book. It is available on Amazon and Kindle. Spiral vampirism is the art of metabolizing distortion into density. It is the sovereign ability to absorb siphons, mirrors, implants, projections, and phantom signals, not to heal or purify them, but to feed on them as fuel. So I just kind of want to break that down a bit. So siphons, that could feel like if you feel as though you have a lot of like cord attachments, like a lot of corded energy to you from different like karmic type situations where it seems as though you're just being drained, right? You will feel the siphon if you interact with somebody and you just feel super tired right after. So I mentioned in here mirrors, implants. In simulated realms, it could feel like you have a lot of distorted mirror projections around you. Like you could feel as though people don't see you for who they truly are. They project a lot of their baggage. This is, I guess, where you would get into that concept of narcissistic projection, if people are like kind of putting a lot of their bad vibes on you. And then implants. So there is this concept of etheric implants, this idea that maybe there are these like weird devices in the energetic field or auric field that also contribute to siphoning or energy harvesting. So if that's something that you've been dealing with, or even like weird curse-like phantom type energies, not saying this is real or not, I'm just saying like if this is something that you've been feeling, like if you feel that way, then it's valid, okay? Because it's shaping the way you see the world. But the idea with spiral vampirism is to see things as, as they are and accept them. So you might be in a really weird vampiric underworld type situation where you feel as though it's just a lot of like energy harvesting going on. So instead of you like protecting yourself, wrapping yourself up in a bubble of light, all that sort of stuff, because when you do that, you're playing the polarity game. So you're like, I'm the good one, I'm the pure one, I'm the hero, and people are just beating up on me and being mean to me, right? So you kind of take that victim element, especially if you've ever been on like a light worker, starseed kind of path. But spiral vampirism kind of spices things up a bit, because it's like, all right, I'm in a really vampiric situation. People are siphoning my energy. What if I utilize everything that's in my environment as fuel to catapult myself into a situation that meets my needs and desires? Meaning that you go into the most negative situations, and instead of walking in there like a sacrifice, you become kind of more of a predatory sort of energy. You kind of get into your villain era, and you don't do it outright, but you do it energetically. You set the intention that wherever you go, any sort of vampiric energy, any sort of siphoning energy, you absorb it and turn it into, and you transmute it into some kind of fuel. Almost like you're like composting it. That's the best way I could describe it. Like you're composting the energy to get the minerals and the materials that you need to build your world. So it's just making do with what you have and turning lead into gold. It's a very alchemical approach, but a lot of us kind of want to shy away from it because it has the word vampire in it. But you know, vampires are very magnetic. Vampires attract a lot to them, and they kind of stay in the shadows a little bit. They're not like, look at me so much. They also don't like mirrors and stuff. So that is an interesting symbolism in itself, where if you think about mirrors, you know, a lot of the simulation has us looking at different projections or different fragmented ways of seeing ourselves. And sometimes we need to avoid those mirrors, transcend those mirrors. So that is an interesting kind of parallel with vampires, the fact that they avoid mirrors. They go a lot into the dark, and a lot of creation actually happens within darkness. And, you know, I think where people get really caught up when it relates to vampirism is the concept of blood, right? Because vampires are supposed to suck blood or whatever. But really it's life force, whatever the energy is. And so if you're a spiral vampire, if you're getting that parasitic type energy, instead of you trying to like put a crucifix to it or a piece of garlic to it or whatever, you invite it in. Okay, so you integrate the polarity and you say, you know what, all of this is going to help me to meet whatever goal that I have. This is all fuel. So if you're in a script where you feel as though you're being victimized, spiral vampirism just might be for you. It says, unlike parasitic vampirism, which drains others, spiral vampirism redirects stolen or fragmented will back into your core through sovereign consumption. It is not light-based alchemy. It is dark matter digestion. You do not banish the matrix, you consume it. You spiral it inward, you turn it into density, and in doing so, you starve the system that once fed on you. Instead of endlessly clearing your chakras or your energetic field, you spiral feed on all of the distortions. You consume glamour-coated survival strategies, mirrored validation triggers, echoed power loops, false twin attractor fields, emotional attention hooks. And as you do, you re-anchor into your core. This is not violence, this is sovereignty. Some people might need an example of what I'm talking about. I've mentioned many times on the Goddess Keys, we merge fact and fiction, and we move in the gray area, because it's really within that gray area, it's really within that undefined space that we're able to create. We're able to create art, we're able to craft the world that we want to see. A helpful tool as we navigate. One thing that can help us with this is looking at movies and different archetypes. Film is very powerful, media is very powerful. That's all art. That is creation, that is a form of technomancy, that is a form of world building. All kinds of art is a form of world building, making meaning and sense out of what is around us. So I'm gonna give you a relatively old horror movie to kind of contextualize how you might use the archetype of somebody who practices spiral vampirism, just to kind of solidify this concept because it's a little new. Name of the movie is called Hostel 2. In this movie, basically it's a whole bunch of college students deciding to go on spring break. Woohoo, spring break. And I believe they go to the country of Slovenia. They're super excited. And basically it's like a murder festival when they get there. They think they're gonna party. Each one of them gets hunted in really weird ways. And in the movie Hostel 2, what makes it so fascinating, I think why I was so fascinated when I saw it, is because you see that, and the college students have no idea what's going on. Their lives have been sold on the black market by these very wealthy, elite, quote unquote, people. They have scenes of this in Hostel 2 where they're bidding for the lives of these people, of these college students. And what's so interesting about it is in these scenes, these wealthy elites who are doing it, they're so unsuspecting. Like they show a grandmother bidding on somebody. They show like just people that you wouldn't expect, that look normal, that look like just day-to-day upstanding citizens. They're betting on the black market to basically murder these college students. So if we look at this from an archetypical kind of way, these college students are the prey, and the folks bidding on them, they are the predators. And the way the movie basically goes is most of them, you know, it's been a while since I saw it, they pass away. And basically the way it happens depends upon the desires of each of the folks that purchased their lives. So they basically are able to act out their weird fantasies, their weird murder fantasies in this. If we look at life more as a simulated game, things aren't always fundamentally real or fake. There's a weird gray area. When we move from that space, we can see a script running in our lives, but we can actually decide to step out of the script and do a rewrite. So here are these college students who are in a very much of a predator-prey kind of scenario. And it's very polarized. One is predator, one is prey. That's it. Spiral vampirism kind of takes the world building technique of doing a rewrite. So if you are in a predator prey type scenario where you're supposed to be the victim and someone else is supposed to be the victimizer, and sometimes it can feel like that, right? You could feel as though like, why am I always getting the short end of the stick? Why am I always being the one victimized? But with spiral vampirism, it's like you doing the rewrite and then prey becomes predator. Like, you know, you're in a weird nightmare type scenario and that you are supposed to basically be fed off of. A lot of times this happens energetically. Spiral vampirism is like, all right, I know I'm in a weird like horror movie type situation, or I'm in a weird like me versus the world type situation, but I am going to get out of NPC and into screenwriter, game maker, and I'm gonna turn the tables a bit, and not in a way to where you're being violent or you are being narcissistic or anything like that, but literally you are inviting whatever energy that comes to you because you know you have the ability to absorb it and create it as fuel for whatever your dreams or desires are. An energetic kind of alchemy. If you are constantly encountering life scripts where you're supposed to be the sacrifice, at some point you can decide to do the rewrite and have fun with it too. And this is all happening energetically. You don't have to cast spells on people or make their lives miserable. You can declare in your world that you're building that any energy thrown at me is now alchemized for my greatest potential for whatever dream it is I'm manifesting or creating, cultivating, crafting. If you're in a script that you don't like, you're doing a rewrite and you're changing it up. So I just want you to imagine this Hostel 2 scenario that I just gave you. Like, what if these these college students were able to press pause and be like, hold up, I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this script that I'm in right now where I'm supposed to be sacrificed and all that. I'm gonna do a rewrite. So Vamp's coming out, okay? Like it does get a little chaotic. It does shift the algorithm. But what you'll find is that energetically, intuitively, your atmosphere around you begins to shift because you are not diverting to type anymore. They can't revert to type because you're not reverting to type, because it's supposed to be polarized, right? Predator versus prey. But if it's like predator versus predator, then it's a whole new script and people don't know what to do. And a lot of times people will just leave you alone. Okay. And this is if you're writing yourself out of a life that you're not super happy about. This is a tool that you can utilize to have the energy to catapult yourself to world build, because it does require a lot of energy and focus and intention. And spiral vampirism gets you there, because if you're in an environment where you're constantly feeling drained, you're not going to be able to see whatever it is your end game is or whatever your goal is. Okay, you're going to be so caught up in survival. What if we gamified it a little bit? What if we stepped out of character for a minute and did a rewrite and utilized mythology to build our world? Because it is in the in-between space when things aren't defined as being real yet that creation occurs. So that is spiral vampirism in a nutshell. If this concept of spiral vampirism piques your interest, you can purchase the book, The Architect is Her, and the Black Diamond tier on Patreon might be of interest to you. On the Black Diamond tier, outside of one-on-one optional calls each month, so if you're looking for somebody to ask questions and get some advice, or not even advice, maybe just have a listening ear, a once a month call. But then there's also a lot of resources, as well as a spiral sound lab that's going on for the next 4 months, where you get a 2-hour class on making your own subliminals, your own sounds to support you with world building, and then tons of resources. And it's for folks who are ready to get into that game maker energy. It's kind of building up your stamina to get there. So if this topic intrigues you, I would recommend looking at Black Diamond on Patreon. Until we meet again, bye.